Hey again, and welcome to the Real World Prepper. As always, if you like the content that you see here, please hit the subscribe button. I implore you. Subscribe if you're watching these videos. It will help spread the word and help people, and you'll feel better for it, and you'll make me happy. So it's a win-win-win situation. Now, on with the video. Okay guys, welcome aboard this edition of the Real World Prepper. I wanted to talk just a little bit about reasons to prep. We have touched on this. There's a lot of guys obviously talking about, you know, why you would prep and all this kind of stuff. One of the biggest obstacles I get from non-preppers, and I don't have tons and tons of conversations about this, but I have had a lot over the last few years. You know, overall conversations with people who are non-preppers or even preppers who may not have exactly the same mindset as myself or whatever, you know, bouncing information off of believers and unbelievers alike, so to speak. And one of the things that gets thrown up a lot, to me at least anyway, is, you know, the whole idea of, well, there's nothing going to happen. Let me pause. Something's going on here. Okay, and we're back. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulty there. So anyway, as I was saying, one of the things that I hear, I guess more than anything, when it comes to people who don't understand why you might prep or something, they say, you know, oh, this, you know, they don't believe any of this big stuff could happen. When I say big stuff, you know, when we prepare as preppers, we prepare for all types of things that could go wrong, or that could, you know, affect your life. You know, we've talked about storms, we've talked about an EMP, whether it be natural from the sun or a weaponized system, or you know, even somebody getting itchy finger with nukes, foreign invaders, if that were anything, infiltrations from within, you know, power grid shutdown, martial law, so on and so forth. The biggest thing that most people who are not preppers, and frankly just in my experience, most people, period, are that they don't consider that any of the seemingly nefarious stuff could or would happen. They believe that all of that is strictly conspiracy. You know, mostly they even think that people who believe that way or think that way, you know, are nutty and all this kind of good stuff. If they can get behind any of it, they can get behind, you know, storms and natural weather occurrences, right? When I say get behind it, you know, they can say, well, okay, I can see how that could happen. And many may have experienced it. You know, people in California and other places with these wildfires and you know, the East Coast, you know, hurricane, what was it, Sandy, that came through a few years ago, and all these types of things, you know, the Gulf Coast with the hurricanes that come through there periodically and over the years. So, you know, they can for the most part, people can concede that type of thing. But even then, the attitude that me personally, again, have experienced is a general notion of, yeah, you know, you might want to make sure you're on high ground, or your house is on stilts if you're in some of these low-lying flood areas, or you know, they have some excuses and some things that they would prescribe or recommend, but overall they believe that help is on the way, and help is on the way quickly. I want to read you something. I know you guys all know about this. I say you do. If you're old enough, you know, you'll remember these. Katrina, Hurricane Katrina, back in 2005. Let me read you a little something here. This is a lesson from Katrina. On August 29th of 2005, the Gulf Coast states were struck by the worst hurricane in U.S. history, Hurricane Katrina, a Category 5 storm. It devastated southern Mississippi and Louisiana, leaving over 1,800 people dead. Another 1,800 people were reported missing. Storm surges breached the levees of New Orleans, and that's a low-lying area, if you guys didn't know that, surely you do, below the, what is it, water level or flood zone, floodplain, or ocean, whatever you call it, in many areas. So anyway, breached the levees of New Orleans, resulting in massive flooding. Thousands of people were driven from their homes, and many were stranded by the rising waters. The impact of the disaster was enormous in both human and economic terms. The Bush administration, who was in charge at the time, initially asked Congress for $105 billion for reparations, but the full economic impact, I don't know if reparations would be the right term I'd use, but anyway, but the full economic impact of the disaster would eventually prove to be even greater. Some could argue that even still the costs are being surmounted due to its effects on the region's industries and to massive environmental damage, which many areas have yet to recoup even from that. To the residents who were caught in the aftermath of the storm, Katrina was a lesson in the inadequacy of the local, state, and federal governments. Katrina was a lesson to the residents caught in the aftermath of the storm. Katrina was a lesson in the inadequacy of local, state, and federal governments who failed to respond in a timely manner during those people's time of desperate need. How much faith do you have in your government? I mean, honestly, you know, I don't think we should be a nation without government by any means. You know, by no means. But certainly to expect that the government is going to come and fix every little problem and solve your every little issue, and in a timely manner, is being naive to think that. You know, so this is what I would tell people. You know, we have a personal experience in our area of a winter storm that came through. I mentioned it in an earlier video back in 1994, and it, you know, there was big problems, man. There was big problems with being able to get anywhere or get anything. It was power was out. It was cold. It was, you know, three weeks or more long. So I mean, you know. Nothing like being through a Hurricane Katrina, but it was tough enough. So anyway, let's see. So anyway, the residents were caught in the aftermath. That was a lesson of the inadequacy, I can't say that word, of local, state, and federal governments who failed to respond in a timely manner. While thousands of residents were stranded without food or water, overwhelmed law enforcement officials were forced to turn their attention from rescue efforts to mob control, because people go nuts in these situations. Looting was widespread throughout New Orleans, and gunfire was reported in many parts of the city. Eyewitness reports incidents of witnesses reported incidents of murder, rape, and robbery occurring in the streets even in daylight hours. There were also reports of abuse and looting on the part of some law enforcement officials. People are people, guys. People are people. What I mean by that is, have you ever been disappointed by a teacher? You ever been disappointed by a pastor? You ever had say a good mechanic for a few years, and then one day something he says or does disappoints you? I mean, people are people, okay? We may try and be our best, you know, some of us, and I'm not even saying that's me. I'm just saying, you know, I mean, I like to think I'm trying to be as good as I can be, and I'm praying that I'm better every day, thank God. But, you know, people are people. When it breaks down to the fundamentals, you know, people, you never know what somebody is capable of. It's kind of like, again, if I may reference this 28, my other video, 28 Inconvenient Truths About the End of the World as We Know It. There was one that said, all right, without spending too much dead air time here, but it's basically, you know, a couple of them actually in here basically say that, you know, you have no idea how ready you're going to be for a situation until it actually happens. As ready as you think you're going to be, as prepared as you think you're going to be, you don't know until it happens. So these people, I'm sure there was a criminal element who already had a hand in being bogus and robbing folks and killing folks and all that kind of stuff. But I would be willing to bet that there was a good portion of these people affected in this particular, and we're just talking about this one event. I would be willing to bet that there were some people who wouldn't have ever conceived of robbing somebody or stealing something or even possibly harming somebody, you know, in self-defense or otherwise, prior to that event. But then once they got desperate in this situation, I mean, you know, you honestly just don't know what you're capable of or what people are capable of. So, you know, and there's even reports of law enforcement officials themselves. Of course, that shouldn't be a big surprise. You know, why would we be surprised that there are some corrupt law enforcement officials? Not saying they're all bad guys, just there's bad eggs in every bunch, you know, or apples, whatever. So hurricane victims in Mississippi, they did not experience crime and violence to the extent that it was felt in New Orleans, but they did experience the same frustrations as far as the rescue efforts were concerned. The weeks and months that followed the disaster, government officials and agencies would be harshly criticized. Okay. So anyway, all right, yeah, let me go ahead and read this. Let's see. For days after Katrina, people were stranded on the rooftops with no drinking water or food. Toxic waters surrounded and engulfed their homes. How much better off would those individuals have been if they'd made a few simple preparations in advance? Even the ones that had to hang out on the roof. You know, if they had some preps, they at least could have, you know, had something to eat or drink. What if, as they had been forced to leave their homes, they had grabbed their bug-out bags, stashed with food, water, and emergency supplies, signaling devices, flashlights, etc.? How many lives would have been saved if each individual had simply made adequate provisions for emergency drinking water? Point in case, right there. I mean, this is, and I don't have the reference, this is something in my book, but it's an article from, hell, I think it's from something.gov. Don't quote me on that. The point is, how simple would it be to at the very least make a bag, an emergency bag, a 72-hour bag, whatever it is, so that you're not completely ass out when something happens. You know, I literally know people, work with people, am closely tied to people who still, you know, what are you doing when you get off work today? Oh, I got to go by the grocery store and get something for dinner. Oh, okay, it's grocery day? Well, I'm going to get something for dinner. And then the next day it's the same thing. Oh, I got to go by here and get something for dinner. You know, yikes, man. Yikes. Hell, even if you don't prep, that's just ridiculous having to go. Who wants to go to the grocery store? You know, at least even if you're not into prepping, go and buy a week or two worth of groceries. I don't get it. Okay. But at any rate, that's, you know, that's the reality. Now, if you go to Ready.gov, which is a government readiness, and you guys probably know what this is. If you don't, let me show you. I mean, Ready.gov. Does that show it here? Yeah, right up here in the header. Ready.gov. It's a website. I'm sure. Yeah, here we go. The FEMA. How to install the FEMA app. So it's FEMA driven. It's a government website. They tell you, and this is today, what is this, January 29th, 2019, and this is their most current recommendations. Build a kit. Make sure your emergency kit is stocked with the items on the checklist below. Most of the items. Sorry about that, another technical glitch. Not sure what's going on here. It's SD card problem of some kind, but it's really a phantom problem. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, this Ready.gov goes on to say, after an emergency, you may need to survive on your own for several days. Now, it doesn't specify right there how many days, but it says several days. Being prepared means having your own food, water, and other supplies to last for at least 72 hours. Okay, I've heard others say, and actually I think I saw it, God, I don't know, somewhere. Look at so many different websites where FEMA maybe had began recommending more than 72 hours, but this right here on Ready.gov, which is a FEMA site, at least 72 hours. Disaster supplies kit is a collection of basic items your household may need, in the event of emergency. And then you can expand these sections. Goes on to talk about your water, your food. It talks about a weather radio with tone alert, flashlight, first aid, extra batteries, whistle, dust mask. I mean, it's got some good things listed here, things that you would want to have in your bag. Additional emergency supplies, prescription meds, contact lenses, infant formula, pet food, cash for traveler's checks, important documents or copies thereof, chlorine bleach, fire extinguisher, blah, blah, blah. You know, it goes on. Maintaining your kit storage locations. Let's see what that says. In your home or at work or in the vehicle. Okay, blah, blah. Then some related sites, food preparedness, car safety, water, Readygov, partner sites, etc. So point is, and this is official website of the Department of Homeland Security. This is what it says. Official website of, I don't know if you can see that, of the Department of Homeland Security. So if they're recommending, you know, that you do this, to the people, to the naysayers, to those who say, you know, all this crazy conspiracy stuff isn't going to happen, man. So, you know, so why are you doing all this prepping thing? Well, simply this. You can, you know, you can use these examples, your Katrinas, your Hurricane Andrews, your Sandys, your wildfires, you know, in California and other places out that way, as reasons, you know, to prepare. And again, like you've heard me say many times, the reason when we do this channel is to help somebody. You know, if it gets somebody thinking, you know, if your neighbor is prepared, then your community's better prepared. You know, the better everybody's prepared, then the better it is for everybody. I wanted to show you something else real quick, and then I'm going to get off my rant and we're going to call it a video. And on the home page of this app, the Ready.gov by FEMA, it goes on, and I don't know again how well you can see this, but it goes on. We got winter weather. It's an article on that. I'm not clicking these articles, I'm just showing this to you. Flooding, earthquakes, landslides and debris flow, power outages, make and practice your plan, financial preparedness, get involved, youth preparedness, active shooter and drills and whatnot, be informed, emergency alerts, video, 6 things to know before disaster, hurricanes, etc. So, you know, they're even telling you, and so there you go. You know, for those who trust their federal government in every way, you know, and don't think that anything that they're capable of anything else going on, that the world's government and leaders and those who control the world, the satanic cabal that does, for those who want to dismiss all of that and throw all that out the window, and that's fine if you don't think beyond what's given to you in the media and by your politicians and everything. If you believe that all that horse hockey is exactly how things are, whatever, you know. But even, sorry, another glitch. Not sure what's going on here, but anyway, even those horse hockey pushers or believers or Kool-Aid drinkers, whatever you want to call them, I mean, they're just people, okay? But you know, those who don't think that something worse could happen, at the very least, their very own government, their beloved and trusted government, who's going to fix everything for them, recommends at least 72 hours. And they go on to list, you know, different important items. So share this with your unbelieving friends. Share this with your family members who scoff when you talk about this stuff. You know, share it lovingly, guys, not in your face and abrasive. I've been that way. That's not effective. I mean, sometimes even the loving, caring, even gifting some of this stuff to family members is still met with like, what the world is this? What do I need this for? Well, God, I hope you never need it, you know? But if you do, maybe you'll be glad that you have it, you know? So, help and love your neighbors, spread the word. Just another reason to prep. And for anybody new that's watching, or anybody that doesn't prep, just think about these things, guys. If you're a believer, pray to God about it, you know. He'll reveal things to you. You know, if you ask, He will. He'll let you know what you should and shouldn't be doing and guide you on a path. And there's a lot of good voices out there that will tell you some tips on how to do it on the low dollar wise, an easy manageable way that doesn't consume your life, and you've got support. You know, build a community, build a team, love your family, love your neighbor. I love you guys. See you next time on The Real World Prepper. Thank you very, very much.